From WATN Local 24 in high definition, this is Local Memphis Live. Now, here's your host, Amy Sparopoulos.
While kids are off for the summer, most Mid-South teachers work during their summer break to get ready for the next school year. They work 365 days of the year nonstop, sharpening their skills and preparing for next year. Our first guests know that hard work and dedication that teachers put in 365 days of the year. Take a look and listen. Welcome our first guests from Man Up, Dr. Patrick Washington, Curly Harris, and Brandon Gilmore. Good morning to you all. I love that. I thought there was some like Superman music on there. There should be some Superman music on there because you are super men, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome, Dr. Washington, founder of this program, and we were just talking before we came out about all of the things that you do as a dad, as a husband, and all of you. I mean, it's just really something that goes on year-round.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very important work, and the work is nonstop and preparing and making sure that every child who enters into a school, into a classroom, has a well-prepared, knowledgeable teacher.
Right.
And so that work is it's continuous. And
yeah.
So,
and that's really how Man Up Teach came to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. Knowing that only 2% of the nation's teachers are men of color, it's very important that we diversify classrooms. We can do a much better job of recruiting and supporting men of color to go into classrooms. This whole notion or perception that teachers being a teacher is women's work.
Yeah,
we're changing that perception.
Good.
And we're doing something about it. We're removing the financial barriers that would prevent young men of color from entering into the field, and we're coaching and supporting and developing them, and preparing them for day one as a teacher.
That's awesome. Curly, Brandon, that statistic shocks me. 2%? That's crazy. I mean, and you know, I think back to what I got from my dad and what I got from the strong men in the church in my life. What an influence, what a strong influence that is. And why not? First of all, does that statistic surprise you?
It's surprising, but that's the reason for Man Up. We're trying to make a change, and hopefully when they see this first group come out, that'll start a trend for more guys to want to get in this program and become male teachers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And I would add on to that with the simple fact that I know for a fact when I was growing up and in school, I didn't see any men, especially of color, in the classroom.
Wow.
And I would say that I would believe that that could have made a difference in some of the decisions that I ended up making. Growing up.
And Dr. Washington, that was part of the reason that it was very much driven by that statistic, because you were, I mean, it just seemed very off.
Absolutely. You know, I began my career in the legacy Memphis City Schools back in 1998. I was a 4th grade teacher at Evans Elementary. When I was hired by Ms. Margaret Woods, my first principal, there were only 2 men of color on staff, and I was the second guy on board.
Wow.
Of a staff of us that had about 60+ teachers on board, and not much changed when I became principal, superintendent, just non-existent, particularly at the elementary level.
Why do you think that is?
Well, some of the research suggests there are basically 3 reasons.
Okay.
Low status.
Okay.
I mean, the field, the teaching field is not as highly esteemed as it is in many other countries and places, and so we're wanting to change that as well.
Gotcha.
This field, you actually have an opportunity to affect eternity. I mean, think about the teachers that had an impact.
Gosh, you still remember their names.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so changing that whole narrative and the whole perception of the field itself.
Wow.
And then low pay. Teachers across the board, teachers deserve...
they should be the highest paid, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then third, this is fear of false accusations. So for men who are working with young children, young students, and that really is a policy matter that Man Up will also work with schools and districts to ensure that there are policies in place to protect men and protect all adults who are working with children.
Absolutely. And Curly, this is your second year in this program. How's it been so far?
Well, this is my second year in relay, and I'll be the initial cohort for the Man Up program.
That's awesome.
But it's awesome. It's awesome. I love teaching. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And I know that the Man Up program especially is something that I'm very excited to be a part of because of the relentless pursuit to make sure that we do have other men of color in the classroom. And I know how much that can affect especially the young men who are growing up.
Brandon?
Yes, this is my 5th year in education, and I'm aspiring a cohort to be in the Man Up program.
Right.
But as a black educator, we're in these suburban areas where the charter schools are.
Yeah.
We're basically the father role for all of these kids coming from single parent homes.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that, I think, is such key.
Yes, ma'am. Like, we're spending 9 hours a day. That's 45 hours a week that you're with these kids. Some parents don't spend 45 hours a week with their kids.
Yeah.
So it's, we actually have a life impact on these kids. That's a father role.
Absolutely. Yet another reason, Dr. Washington.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I'm a dad, and I remember, of course, when I began my career, I wasn't a father, and it changed me. And, you know, to have, I was thinking about one of my scholars just the other day. I asked him, he was making some bad decisions.
Yeah.
I asked him, you know, so I was like, you know what, I need to talk to your dad. And I was like, so what's your dad's name? And he looked at me and said, I don't know. You know, that was heartbreaking.
God, that breaks my heart.
You know, and while certainly, you know, these guys will be effective teachers, and that's a key word. We're not just looking for men to be in the class, but they have to be effective practitioners.
Right.
However, there's an additional opportunity to say, hey, take these young guys beneath their wings and help them and mentor them and guide and direct them along the way. The power of a visual. There's some additional research that suggests, you know, when kids are not seeing teachers, especially, you know, boys of color, they're not seeing individuals who look like them, then they subconsciously they begin to form this whole idea that, you know, teachers that's not a viable option for me.
Yeah.
And so it becomes cyclical, and so we're gonna change that. Our first cohort will be a group of 10 guys, and we're hoping to, with each consecutive year, increase that size by 5, so 15 for the following year, and we're gonna roll back to identifying guys as early as high school.
That's awesome.
Public service, and we have a lane that's called reverse, where we're gonna identify individuals who have these misdemeanor charges that wouldn't prevent them from acquiring a teacher's license, because I was also that young person who made a bad decision but was able to get it reversed.
Curly, I see you chomping at the bit there. He wants to say something. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I would definitely piggyback off of all of that, especially with the similar backgrounds that we do have, that it's very, very, very important that we take a strong first step in a lot of these young men's lives, because when you set the pace and you allow them to see what we can do and what we're capable of early on, it goes without saying that they're capable of believing that anything is possible.
I love it.
And when you set that precedent that, hey, we can be in here, we can lead you at this level, then they're gonna think, especially some of the kids I had last year, that I can lead in other levels. And then that's when you get the, I want to be the president, or I think I should be the mayor.
Yes.
And all I would ever want to be able to do in that particular point when I hear that is to make sure that seed gets planted and watered at the highest possible capabilities.
Yeah. Gentlemen, we're so thrilled to have you on. I mean, this is just a wonderful, and you know, it piggybacks right off of, too, what Mayor Strickland is doing with his Manhood University.
Absolutely.
And what Memphis Athletic Ministries is doing with their young men. It's just a wonderful program, and I think that, you know, I really would encourage you to get more people involved in this so we can see. I feel like we just scratched the surface, Dr. Washington. So I promise that we're going to have you guys back on in July. Now, are there still spots available for this residency program?
Still spots available. We're encouraging interested candidates to go ahead and apply.
Wonderful.
You see our website on the screen, so go ahead and apply as soon as possible. Again, we're going to have a cohort of 10. And we have a lot of interest already, and so we're going through the screening process, so apply today.
That's great. Well, happy Father's Day to you. And thank you, gentlemen, so much. Brandon, thank you for joining us. It's a great opportunity for you. The first classes, again, of the teacher residency program, Man Up Teach. Fellowships start this July, so to get more information, you can go to their website, again, posted up there, manupteach.org. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for leading this class of young men. And I, too, believe presidents, mayors, all kinds of opportunities.
World changers.
World changers. Absolutely. Thank y'all for joining us today. Coming up in today's show, the risks